Okay, Joe, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, welcome everyone. I'm going to say it like I usually do. We're not going to talk about anything tonight you can't find in the newsletter. So be sure to take a look at it, keep a copy of it. Anything we talk about is going to be in there. Before we go too much further, I think we have some people that need to be recognized. This latest WACO event turned out rather nice for most of our members that participated. I think we have one big winner. Is that Jeff? I think Jeff won the big all-time prize. Unbelievably beautiful picture. Within the newsletter itself, you'll find a list of all the people that took awards home. And there's 3 or 4 in there that, the first, second, third place in different categories are listed. If you go to the WACO website, you'll get a full view of most of the award winners and pictures that were presented. Fantastic show. Jeff, do you think WACO had a rather good turnout this time with all the different clubs or not?
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout. We had 36 photographers.
Okay.
Quite a few of them from our club, and with Jeff Ewig winning Best of Show, that's always nice. That's 2 years in a row that our club has won Best of Show.
Yep.
Patty won last year and Jeff Ewig won this year. So
Great job. Right.
We're doing pretty well.
Okay, another topic here. This is going to be the last Zoom meeting of the year. We're going to be having our big event in the park in July. But what I'd like to do is to take just a couple of minutes and see if we can do a quick evaluation of the Zoom program that we're utilizing and any recommendations on how we could do even better than we're doing it this year. If anybody would like to jump in and make a comment or two, I'd appreciate it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Do you like Zoom or not?
I guess I can say something about it.
Okay, Patty.
I like it. I do miss the in-person, and it's not the same as being there in person and speaking, seeing everybody and talking behind the scenes and everything. But as far as the meeting goes, I hear a lot better on the Zoom. If I have a lot of background noise, I'm a little bit hard of hearing, so I do have trouble hearing when I'm there in person. So in that respect, and also with having access to more speakers, and just not having to drive, especially with the gas prices being what they are right now, it's kind of nice. So.
Well, I made a comment in the newsletter. It was kind of doubtful if the Zoom thing was going to be a productive event, but personally, I think it's turned out rather well, especially the aspect of being able to hear what's going on. That was always a difficult problem for me in particular at the club meeting. I'm looking forward to the Zoom event going forward, and I hope it continues for a while.
I like being able to see the pictures and right in front of me.
Yeah,
when we display pictures.
I also want to throw in there, I know I missed the zoo outing, which was unfortunate. I had conflict, but I like the balance of the Zoom meetings with the field trips then, because I feel like the social part, like it was really nice seeing a lot of our club at the Shady Lane event and seeing people, I hadn't seen in a while, and talking about gear and photos and just what people have been up to. So I think that's a nice way to balance out the Zoom meetings.
I think a part of that balance is the Facebook site that we have as well. There's a lot of people that are posting pictures from the zoo event I too could not go, but it was good to see all the pictures of the people that did go. So between Zoom and Facebook and field trips, I think we've had a heck of a good year.
Yeah, it's a lot of great balance in that. I mean, you can still get your social,
Yeah.
you know, with all our trips and that. I think it's really wonderful. And you can contact anyone, you know, in the world.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing I'd like to bring up tonight. The event that we're doing tonight, the events that we've been doing, the people that we've had as guests, the newsletter, et cetera. I think we owe Jeff and Ellen a big thank you for the leadership and for all they do for the benefit of the club. That's my 2 cents worth. So
Thank you.
you two just, I mean, you do wonders for the club. Without you, I don't think we'd be an organized group. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I just want to say the speakers have been varied, and each one has been interesting in their own particular bits of information that they've passed on. So it's nice when we had to meet together, but I think the fact that we have access to so many different types of so many different types of speakers is actually relatively phenomenal. I mean, I wouldn't have listened to some of those, and even, you know, without them having to travel distances, it seems to have worked out fairly well, considering the technology and the fact that you're dealing with, are you muted? Are you not muted? Are you, how long are you there? And I just want to point out again, I think Hazel Meredith, if you hadn't seen her, her video runs out. And like I said, by my calculation, it might be around the beginning of July. So if you haven't seen that, her video, Jeff, on that?
Yeah, we only get 60 days of her video. So that second half of last month's meeting will be cut out.
Okay.
So watch it now before you can't watch it at all.
Right.
It's that was one of her requirements. All the other speakers have been kind enough to let us keep it up permanently. But Hazel wanted, because she sort of sells that course, wants it pulled down after 60 days. So,
all right. Well, again, thanks to both of you. Without you, we wouldn't be a group. Now let's move on. We need to have an election for the new officers for the upcoming year. Jeff, I'll let you take charge of that.
okay. Well, first off, Clint has kind enough to volunteer to be vice president for next year. I think everybody knows him well enough. He's been here with his nice restaurant background for a lot of these Zoom meetings. So we thought it was time to put him into the hot seat and get him ready to be president the following year.
Well, we're going to find out where that restaurant is so he can invite us up.
Yeah.
Take a trip to Mackinac Island, get your private jet.
Okay.
Yeah. Pat Lynch has agreed to stay on as treasurer. Ellen has agreed to stay on as a newsletter editor. And I'll stay on as secretary and web programmer. So
I'd like to recommend we unanimously take a vote and approve these candidates. All in favor? Please raise your hand. I'd say it's a done deal, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right.
See, Clint, I told you it probably was a done deal.
I don't like cutting the chickens before they hatch.
Yeah, right.
And I suppose I've been to the camera club for, I believe it's 18 years now, I think, something like that.
Wow.
Is it? I wasn't sure how long because it's hard to look back in those notes, but yeah, you've been around a long time. So we look at those guys that have been around the longest, and most of us have done it at least once, sometimes twice. So it was your turn.
Well, Roger's going to have a good time next year, and I wish him well.
Yep. And it will be his second time.
Yeah, that's
He's
right.
already been president once already, so
All right.
he sort of knows what to do.
Well, let's hope so.
I think so.
Real quick, since I know the next meeting's in person, and you mentioned this is the last time that we're meeting virtually this year. You mean because of the way our year ends in June? The plan is still currently to have September meeting in Zoom, correct?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. Just
as far as
so nobody took that as like every meeting after this was going back to person. That's just next month. That's in person. Then August is planning meeting, and then we start up our new year in September. But we'll still be doing Zoom. So
that's correct.
Yep.
Now, speaking of next year, we need to choose a theme for the year. This year, it's a community spotlight. I wonder if we want to do that tonight, or Roger, do you think we ought to wait till September?
Well, I haven't been thinking about it, but if anybody has suggestions, we could certainly consider them.
All right.
We normally do it in July, but since this is our last in-person meeting, this would probably be a good meeting to do it at.
I think it's a good time to do it because there might be, the theme might have things to do with summer, and we could work on it this summer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. Go ahead.
I gave everybody fair warning to start thinking of ideas, so you've got at least a week to dwell on it. Well, 5 days for sure.
All right.
I was thinking about the first President's Challenge for September, which I think I'd probably use summer fun for the President's Challenge for September. But I did not think about the year's challenge.
All right.
I just suggest we do a broad topic that tries to encompass everything that anybody might want to do.
How
Like
about
maybe anything goes. I mean, in December, we usually do our favorites.
well, we could have something like Wisconsin Fun Times. I mean, that would take the entire year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not so much fun in January, February, March.
Well,
You know, I know we've had weather, we've had water, but both of those were, I think, good, easy.
could pick a color.
We could pick a color.
Ooh, who came out? I was thinking of like, yeah, why don't we just, like we once upon a time we did red, so just pick a
Or-
color.
You could pick two colors if we didn't want to stare at the same color the entire slideshow.
Oh, that would be,
Just throwing it out there, like red and blue jump to mind. It doesn't have to be red and blue, but you get some different contrast there as you're watching a slideshow.
could just do the three color, the primary colors on the red, blue, yellow on the color wheel or something like that. So.
Primary colors.
Can I ask a question?
Joe, yeah,
Sure.
Joe has a question.
You all kind of lost me. I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about a theme, but I don't know what this theme, I mean, what do you do?
You're going to find out during this meeting because you're going to see this year's. But yeah, go ahead, explain it to her.
the program for tonight is Community Spotlight. That's the yearly topic. What we're talking about is trying to come up with a topic for next year for the 2022 and 23. That's what we're trying to
It's a slideshow.
decide what it
ultimately.
might be.
Oh,
All
it's
members-
just a once a yearly thing that you post at the end of the year?
That's
We
correct.
all submit photos, and then Jane puts together a slideshow for us.
Correct.
Oh, okay, I got it. I wasn't sure if you're talking like for the newsletter or,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
the theme for the
monthly.
year.
As a theme for the year, the all member show usually is the very last meeting that we have.
Okay,
And it's up to 8 photos. And Jane has done a tremendous job, so maybe she'll continue doing that for a while on putting that slideshow together. The monthly President's Challenge is something we started maybe 2 years ago just to get us shooting because we couldn't go anywhere. And so there were very few field trips that we had. So we had to start coming up with something that would keep us, that would at least keep us going. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of white walls. I was looking.
sure.
Good point. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, I would, if you have ideas that you would like to recommend, try to get them to Ellen or to me, and we will maybe at the gathering make a final decision as to what they are. Would that be acceptable? Okay. Speaking of the gathering, a month from now, maybe a little bit more, July 12th, the last couple of pages in the newsletter, there's some information about that event. It's coming up. We're hoping to have it, well, we've already got the park located. There's a map that gives you directions on how to get there. It's going to go from like 6 till 8, something like that. There'll be a final information in the next newsletter, which is before July the 12th. So be on the lookout for that. And we're very optimistic that most of you will be able to join us. I know we're having ice cream for sure, and a few other trinkets. We're going to be playing a game. Most of you know what the cheaper, I forgot the name of it. The cow hoe or whatever it is. What's that thing called?
Cornhole.
Cornhole.
Gee, boy, my mind's gone blank here lately. Anyway, we got 2 boards, 2 sets, and that should be a little bit of fun to play with. But it's a good way for all of us that are looking at each other on the TV right now or your computer screen and to come together and be able to see who you are in reality and be able to share a little bit of information about each one of us. Should be a fun time. Looking forward to it.
Do we have a backup?
Joe, one thing to add to that. So anybody who doesn't live in Menomonee Falls may not know, and I know there's instructions on how to get there in the newsletter.
Yeah.
But the part that says in the newsletter, there's a part saying if you're coming from the south, take Lily north to Fond du Lac Ave. There's a small bridge on Lily, which is just went under construction this week and will be under construction until September. So you cannot take Lily north to Fond du Lac. You have to come down Fond du Lac. So just be aware of that, that you can't come that way. So you'll want to come down Fond du Lac, like the rest of the directions tell you.
Okay.
Do we have a backup plan just in case if there's bad weather?
No, we don't. There is a shelter. We'll be under roof. If we have to just hang out under the roof under the
It's
rain.
a decent sized shelter. If you've never seen them, they're pretty big. There's a lot of benches underneath. There's bathrooms there. They just renovated the bathroom last year. So it's a pretty good setup. It's not far from the parking lot either. The parking lot is right next to it. So
yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. There's a couple of things I want to bring up here. The zoo outing was last Saturday. Is Brian here tonight?
No, he's not.
Okay. Well,
I'm here in audio. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for some
Okay,
reason, I just
yeah.
can't get my camera going. So, yeah, it was a good outing. We had roughly 10 people there. The weather was good. We all met together right around 10 and headed out different areas. So, as you mentioned, there are a good number of photos shown, from that zoo outing on the Camera Club Facebook page.
That's interesting.
So I think we had about 10 people, and we got together around noon. We all had lunch out by Lake Evinrude. After we spent half an hour in line, that wasn't quite that bad, but anyway, it took a long time to get the food. But
He just
he
needed
most of
to
us
know
went
what to
up there.
order.
Anyway. But it was a good outing, and really thanks for all the folks that showed up. So it was a good
Yeah.
day. Thank you.
Yeah, the many pictures on Facebook, really, some of them are just fantastic. Great job.
The animals,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
be pretty willing to pose and stuff like that too,
Okay.
so.
I was wondering, well, in the future, I'm wondering when we do a program like the zoo outing, for those that can't go, maybe someone could organize the pictures from everybody's that they took and do a slideshow at one of our meetings. It might be in something we can look at down the road. All right.
Well, it'd be nice if they'd send me their images so we can put them on the website. Then we can always look at them that way if we wanted to at a meeting.
Good point. Yeah.
Otherwise, if people get me them, I can always throw a slideshow together. That's not hard to do.
Okay. A couple of other things that are coming up. Ian, you want to chat for a minute about the Chicago adventure?
Sure. So for those who don't know, prior to the pandemic, I've led multiple trips once a year to Chicago. We take the Amtrak train out of the downtown station, Milwaukee Station, down to Union Station in Chicago. We spend most of the day down there taking photos, lots of city stuff, street stuff, architecture. And then we take the Amtrak back. The details are listed in the newsletter, but just to give you a heads up, so the plan is June 18th. So not this Saturday, but the Saturday after, if I'm not mistaken. Yep.
That's correct.
Yep. We'll take the 6:15 a.m. That's the first train available that morning. Down to Chicago. We will take the 5:08 p.m. train out of Chicago back home. Usually gets you home, or you think around like 6:30 it was, 6:45. Or at least it gets you to the Milwaukee station, I should say. As far as what I'm planning, because I try to change things up a little bit each year, I did go do a walk by myself. I made a trip down there a couple weeks ago. So all day CTA pass that allows you to ride the train and the bus. They cost $5. So the plan will be to take the train down there, buy the tickets, because you can buy them right there at the little kiosk at Union Station. Probably walk through part of the loop till we get to about State Street. So it's, I don't know, 6 blocks ish. We'll take our time, shooting things, walk past the Sears Tower, some other neat places, kind of things that we've seen before in the past, but they're always fun to shoot at that time. When we get around State Street, my plan was then to take, that's a good place to pick up a bus to take you out to the planetarium. And we'll shoot the skyline from there. I don't know if we've ever made it all the way out to the planetarium as a group, because it's a long walk. So taking the bus saves us all that. We can take cool skyline shots there, and then hop on the bus, and then we'll kind of play it by ear there, depending on time and whatnot, because we'll eat lunch. We'll probably just do like a quick casual lunch. We've tended to do that in the past. places like an Epic Burger, a Blaze Pizza, something like that. So there's some variety and it's not too long. And then we'll just kind of play it by ear. Like I said, with Chicago, I try not to plan things out too much, too structured, because you never know when you're going to run into construction, a festival, who knows, or you just see something cool. As far as what to bring, last thing I'll mention here, I threw it in the newsletter, except I gave a typo on the big lens. I do not own a 7 to 350 millimeter. That would be quite a lens. But I'm going to bring a range of lenses, 10 to 18 mil. I have a crop body that I use for city stuff. So 10 to 18 millimeter on a crop sensor, my 17 to 70 mid range, and then a 70 to 350, which is what my telephoto is. Because I like to zoom in on buildings, get lots of detail. So this way I have wide all the way to telephoto. If you have one of those like 18 to 200, 18 to 250, 18 to 300, whatever lenses, kind of all round lenses, those work great. You usually don't need a lot of light or depth with them. So that's a good way to save weight. Tripods, it's up to you. I tend to bring mine and I use it when we're out at the planetarium because I'll throw on an ND filter to blur Lake Michigan, the water. But by no means do you have to bring a tripod. Most of our shooting will be outside. If it does rain, I'm still planning on going. I went by myself. It rained. So, check the weather, bring a coat if you need to. If it, it's downpouring or it looks like it's going to downpour, there's plenty of places we can hop into, hotels, the cultural center, different things that we can shoot indoors also.
Okay.
Who's interested? So I have a ballpark idea of who's coming. We got 1, 2, 3, maybe a 4. Okay. Because the other thing is I'm also inviting the Urban Ecology Center Club. In previous years, I ended up doing 2 trips and it's just a lot of trips. So I figured, hey, let's put them together. So we'll have a couple people from the Urban Ecology Club too.
All right. Sounds like a great outing.
Buy your Amtrak tickets ahead of time, I recommend. They shouldn't sell out, but I recommend buying them ahead of time. And 24 hours before, I just learned this when I did it, 24 hours before your ticket, like within that 24-hour window, they'll email you like a COVID check thing to ask, do you have symptoms? Have you been around people? Blah, blah, blah. And you have to fill that out ahead of time. So just be on the lookout for that.
All right. I think there's 2 other events coming up in June. I think they're outlined on page 4 of the newsletter. One is called ClickCon. It's down in Chicago at the Palmer House. It's 3 days. I don't know all the details about it, but I think it's been around a while. You could probably look it up on the internet to get all the information you need. But evidently they bring in speakers from all over the country. So that might be something for some of you that might be a super event. The other one is called the Kick the Dust Up Rodeo, Saturday, June 25th. That's also talked about on page 4. I think some of you have been to the rodeo event, seen some great pictures come out of there. So, so June, you got a couple of weeks. If you're not doing anything, we got something here to keep you out of trouble, to say the least. Who has been to that Dust Up Rodeo? Anybody here tonight?
I've been there once or twice, and you know what? It's a blast. It's very entertaining. A lot of easy places to shoot, and plenty of subjects. It's fun.
You recommend what, like a 70 to 200 or something for the most part?
I use the 100 to 400, and I just I like the reach. But
all right, yeah, that one
Joe?
intrigues me a little bit. Yeah,
Joe?
Yeah.
There's also in June the bicycle racing, the Dairyland bicycle racing. So if you were to do a Google search for Dairyland bicycles, it's a 10-day event. It's in 10 different locations, the 16th through the 26th of June. And it's really fun to photograph that also.
Yeah, my son was a professional bike rider for a couple of years, and he was in that race. And if you're not familiar with biking, it will blow you away. Those guys are inches apart, going around those corners. Are scary to death if you don't know anything about biking. But it's a phenomenal event if you can get to it. And yeah, you're right, Ken. They're in quite a few different cities up around here. I know there's one in Grafton coming up here in a week or so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called Toad.
Yeah.
Tour of America's Dairyland.
Right. Yeah. Super event. All right. Before we do the show and tell, and
Joe, before you do the show and tell, I just want to say welcome to Matt Thomas.
I'm sorry.
He's a guy that contacted me a couple weeks ago and was interested in our club. So just wanted to say welcome, Matt. Glad to see you made it tonight. And what kind of photography do you like to shoot?
I've been trying to pick it back up. I've just whatever, family and kids right now. So that's been my focus. But when I've been getting out, it's just been kind of driving around, more scenery type stuff.
All right.
Great.
Well,
Great.
welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us. It's too bad you're here at the end of the year, but come join us at the picnic and we'll get you introduced to everyone. Thank you. Before we do the show and tell and President's Challenge, Jeff, do you have any other news about WACO or the PSA?
No, nothing going on right now with WACO, other than starting to gear up for the fall competition. But and PSA, we're having a planning meeting on June 18th. So we have no idea what's going on with PSA right now.
All right.
So
we have show and tell this evening. We have Patty Grinwald and Jim Okrowski.
Brindley.
It's Brindley.
I'm sorry?
I've already
Brindley.
apologized to her.
Yeah.
Patty, we're going to have to change your name.
Yeah, I guess so.
Is that Patty? Is that the Patty we know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did it get to be Patty
Brindley.
Grinwald?
Brindley.
I know
Well,
that, but I thought we had
know
a member I
under
didn't
an
know about.
alias.
Okay. So Patty, take it away.
No, I
We'll
already
do Jim.
apologized to her.
All right, hang on a sec here.
Brindley.
Share screen. Hopefully I do this right. Okay. So can you guys see the screen
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
Okay, let me do full screen here. All right, so just went the easy route and just put together some pictures from the nursery photo shoot and then also from the zoo. So I'll just kind of go through these. So these were the ones from the Shady Lane. Using Nikon D850 with the 105 macro lens. And I brought a little Lytra light with me because the light was so flat that day. It was raining and stuff, and there wasn't a lot of bright light. So I illuminated the flowers a little bit with the Lytra. It's just a little rechargeable light. And it's got like little barn doors on it, so you can kind of control how much light falls on your subject and the angle a little bit. So it's kind of nice. I just, I just walk around and shoot everything. So, a couple pictures of the sunflowers. I haven't decided which one I like better. This one, I converted to black and white mainly because the background was actually crap. It was the edge of the shelf with some aluminum on it, and then there were yeah, it was just terrible. I had to do my best to get it out of focus, and then the color was still obnoxious. So when I turned everything to black and white, it kind of looked a little bit more acceptable.
Patty, it's funny. I did the same thing, the same flower.
Did you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the same reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like yours.
Thank you. I liked yours too. I'm trying right now to justify in my mind why I need the new Z9 camera that costs almost $6,000. And, you know, there is no justification, but I still want one. I think this is probably my favorite one I took. I always used to have this plant when I used to have a lot of plants back in the day when I watered plants and didn't kill them.
That's nice too.
Yeah, I just kind of like the overall pattern on that one. Okay, this is one of those plastic do thingies they had hanging up in the front. And I just tried to see if I could get a shot that was interesting. And that was about the best I could come up with. And I like everything about this picture except for this one stupid petal that's larger than all the others over on the left side. Okay, so now we're at the zoo. And it was nice having the flat light in a way because we didn't have the harsh shadows that you get in the when it's really sunny. And with it not being hot, then the animals seem to be more active and seem to, they weren't just all laying somewhere panning all day. So that was kind of nice. So I kind of waited for this guy to do something expressive. He finally stuck his tongue out. I liked his little curly Q horns. And this guy just decided to pick up a stick and eat it. And this guy, he was like a little supermodel. He was really good at making eye contact, and he would kind of look around and then he would just go zap and make eye contact with you for like a couple of seconds. And he was really cool. And this guy was swinging all over the place. Finally stopped moving long enough to get a picture of him. And this one is trying to reach the leaves up there. And this one I just got because it was just, it was so derpy looking. It was cute.
He looks like he's grinning at you.
Yeah, he's got all his teeth showing, and it just, the angle of his ears and the smile and everything, he just looks really derpy. And I thought, it's the one that made me laugh. And this little guy, another one with the tongue out. And this animal is like so freaking amazing. This is a gaboon viper. If you're interested, there's a really good video on YouTube. The channel is called Clint's Reptiles. And the name of the video is the gaboon viper the right pet for you? And he assures you, no, it is not. But he rates all sorts of animals on how they rate as a pet, on affordability, ease of care, just a lot of different categories. And so far, the one that scored the lowest is the human child. So the gaboon viper is just slightly better than a human child as a pet. And I kind of like this angle for the peacock because of the way the feathers curved and are, you know, kind of ethereal or whatever the word is for that. I just kind of like this little guy, he was like chewing on the fence. And the elephants were really interactive and put on a pretty good show. My timing was off when they were giving themselves dust baths. All I got was clouds of dirt, and I never really got a good shot. These guys were fun. And so the tree monitors. One of them climbed up the wall and fell into the water bowl and made a huge splash, and it's just laying there. There's the hyena, the snow leopard, another peacock, the yak again. And this one I've cropped in so far that, you know, it's quality wise, it's not good, that and the high ISO I use, but I kind of like the abstract appearance of it, I guess. And this one, I just like all the textures, even though the color is really, you know, it's very, you know, not a lot of variety in color. I just like all the textures. And another tongue out. Another peacock. Another elephant. And this is the end. So that's the back end of the peacock.
Nice ending.
Patty,
They're
you
amazing pictures. Every single one of them. I loved it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
very nice. Patty, you made a comment about the Z9.
Yeah.
In the newsletter, there's a quote: "It's better to photograph with a camera you own than to wait for the camera you want."
Yes, well, I'm doing that.
You did well. Love them.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, I think you're up next.
All right, let's see if we can get this working here. Right, let's give this a try. All right, I think we got this up and running. I, like most people, I hope the volume's okay. But I, like most people, I think have started out with birds and using different kinds of landscape photos and whatever. I've done the same thing over time and tried to get all of those things. And now I'm kind of going to a new spot where I'm trying to do as many different kinds of photography as I can get to and see if I can do anything with them. And so if somebody says to me, well, let's go do a car show, I'll say, okay, I'll go to a car show. But now the key is, can I make something that is in the middle of a normal room that's bright? Can I work on it in such a way that I make it look really different? And so I'm starting to work now on working with the photos and working with the light inside of those photos to see if I can really bring out the best of these different things I'm starting to photograph. The next one I think might be a little jarring, but I decided I would go out over Halloween, and I went to people's lawns and I would try to get pictures of the different kinds of things that are going on for Halloween. And it's a very different kind of photography, but it's a lot of fun to try. And so I have a bunch of these that I went around to different places to see if I could get different looks. And it's just been a blast. I think many of you know it's also kind of fun to go out to Old World, Wisconsin. Some of the stuff there is actually very difficult because there's so little light inside of all of these different homes that you go into. So most of these are natural light, which you're looking at needing to have a lens that's almost 2.8, for an f-stop, because it's just so difficult to get pictures in some of these places. And then when I went into one of the rooms, I thought, well, again, I'm going to play with light to see if I can get a very interesting looking kind of picture by playing around with the light inside of those different rooms. And here's an example of something like that. Sometimes I use now black and white, where I was trying to obviously get across the point that this is a very old shoe. And in fact, the ones on the right supposedly are made by actual people rather than a factory running at one time. The ones on the left are factory kinds of shoes, and they sort of took over at some point, and they were cheaper. But I wanted to be able to sort of compare them, so I put both of them side by side to try to get a little different look at something like that. It's always fun to go there, and of course, they always have some animals too. This is using a much wider kind of lens to get a very different look. It's something rather than the traditional kind of a 50 millimeter or bigger. They had a Civil War reenactment this last weekend, and I went there to try to get a few photos of what was going on with that kind of thing. And again, I wanted to see if I could get that feel of old time photography going into the older looking processing. Again, these are all available in something like a Lightroom or even certainly a Photoshop or any of the other programs that are out there that develop photos. These guys actually were sleeping. This was not a setup shot. They had slept out overnight the night before. It had rained quite a bit, so of course they were out taking a little siesta. And I thought, well, that's kind of an interesting photo. I was out taking pictures of some things in Waukesha, and this one just kind of struck me. I saw the spider webs kind of really adding something to something that's really a boring picture, rather than just having the fencing, but to have something like these spider webs in there. I just thought it was kind of a neat change of the way you look at a fence. Now, I also have been at the zoo, but I couldn't make this last one. But I also am always looking for what kind of light can you get from it. I know sometimes it's really tricky, especially when you have really bright sunlight like you might have here. But sometimes when they're standing close enough to the cement wall that's down in front of them, you get this beautiful reflection. And then you can get these great pictures of, the hairs just sticking out of the sides of these animals. Same thing here with trying to play with the light a little bit, where you get an animal that's in kind of a dark enclosure and you get a chance to see his face that really sticks out. I kind of like those kinds of pictures. Or some of these close-ups. Many times I've been going to the zoo now, even using a 200 to 600 lens. And sometimes these pictures like this one, you can get with those kinds of lenses, even though this is on Monkey Island, which is pretty far away. But you get some of these really interesting pictures. Like, I believe this was a very young baby monkey. I don't know how old he was, but he was still with his mother and would cling on to her, and then he would run off. And what I like about this one is I don't know if he's ever really seen buds on bushes before. And this seemed to be a real big thing for him to see that for the first time. I thought that was just kind of a fun picture to get. Here's one that isn't quite as tack sharp as I would have liked, but I want to mention this to you. If you ever go to the zoo, as you know, there are lions and leopards that are outside, but there's a viewing window where you can watch the animals. And twice now I've seen this happen. I was taking pictures of these two where they were further back, and along came some young kids that were probably about 7, 8-year-old kids on a field trip with their school. And when they got to the window, these animals charged the window, literally stopping 6 to 10 inches away from that window, and they stared down the kids. And I always thought to myself, you know, when you think of these animals being in the zoo and they've been around people so long, you would think that they would be very calm with people. But I have a feeling this picture certainly depicts that they're still wild animals. You know, they certainly would like to come and visit with those kids, but I don't think the kids would like that so much. I just wanted to comment about these guys. If you were at the zoo, we now have 2 new leopards. As I understand it, we had 2 older ones. One of them died. The other one was supposedly still at the zoo somewhere, but I don't know where it is. These are 2 young new ones. So they're a lot more spry than the other ones, and I think they're a little less, they are more friendly to just walking around and just looking things over than I think the other ones were. The other ones were just kind of pacers and always would walk the same trails. These guys do a little of that, but they're, I think, just much better at photograph. Sometimes I just like the close-ups, the textures of animals. Again, sometimes when you bring in the close-up lenses, you can get things that are really difficult to get with any other kind of lens. I also like these kind of pictures where sometimes you just get a real feel for like the size differences and how these kids are just, they love these animals. They just stand there, they stare at them, and then sometimes the animals will stare at them for a while. It's always fun to take pictures like this. This also is at our zoo. It's difficult to find when they're eating, but if you find them, sometimes it's fun to get photos while they're eating their food. Also on Monkey Island, every now and then they do little wrestling matches, and it's always fun to see who's the dominant one and what's going to happen. And I think the one on the bottom was a younger one who was challenging the older one. And I think it's that testing again, who's most dominant, whatever, but it's fun to watch them. I like this picture because it reminds me of whenever you've seen those movies where they have a mirror and the mirror is taken out and there's somebody on the other side of the mirror and somebody on the front side of the mirror, and the person on one side tries to mimic what the first person is doing. This looks that way to me, like it's a mirror and one animal's looking into a mirror at itself. But that was just one of those quirky things you're lucky enough to get where 2 animals are just looking at each other. I also like doing some different things. I like colors in photos, and one of the things I've been doing is doing photographs of bands, and I love playing with the lights or seeing how I can get the lights around the people or to get the lights to really frame them, give them a different look, really get an idea of, many of these players really get into kind of a zone, and they're certainly aware that you're there, but they really are in a zone, and it's kind of fun to catch them when they're in those moods. And again, I love the lights that go around all these people. Same kind of thing here. Or here, even sometimes when they're not necessarily even in the lights, just trying to get some really interesting photos of them. I also like when the crowds get involved with them. You kind of get a chance to get these photos where somebody is there, or they're interacting with the crowds a little bit. That's kind of cool. Or these backlighting kinds of things where you get the lights out in front. It's always kind of fun when you get eye contact. That doesn't happen real often because obviously they're playing very much to the audience, which is off to my left as I'm facing them. But this person obviously knew I was there and looked right at me. And was just kind of a fun picture to get. I also do some things with one of the community areas where they do like Bug Day and some of these other things. It's through the park system. And I love getting pictures of kids when they're encountering these things for the first time. And I know it's not as nice with having masks because you miss some of that. But when you look at their eyes, you really get an idea that this is a pretty big deal. In this case, of course, they were just going to get things. I like to take pictures of the action or something like this where these kids are really into finding the bugs inside of the seaweed. They were then to identify them. This is one of those things where you can watch kids who are actually learning stuff, but actually having a wonderful time. And part of the reason I really love doing these kinds of photos is a photo like this can never be recaptured. This kid will never be this old again, will never have the same feelings of what they had the first time they encountered things. These are very unique photos that are really once in a lifetime kinds of things. So I really like doing these kinds of things for the cities when they do these different programs, or somebody who's maybe not so happy with the bugs that they're seeing. Or somebody that for the first time gets to touch a tortoise. And again, the eyes really tell the story on a lot of these things. This was actually an apple day kind of thing where they were squishing apples. But again, I just see the eyes here. And I really love that an awful lot of taking those kinds of photos. The other thing I started doing was, I had mentioned, I think a while back that ClickOn was doing a convention, and I know it was in our newsletter. They teach you how to take pictures of people. And if you had gone through one last year, they had offered a free of them. They brought us back down and they brought out models. They wanted us to take pictures of the models with the Christmas lights downtown. So I brought in a speed light and an umbrella for the speed light. And our job was to take pictures of these different models at different places. And sometimes I know people are really afraid of their flashes, but once you see how simple some of this stuff is, you can just do some amazing photos with really simple equipment, much of which many people already own. Here's one just from right over here at the Ware Nature Center area. That's that dam at Whitman Park. I went there during the winter to see if I could do something a little different. I also like trying to do, again, just different things. If you have never been to the museum, to the butterfly exhibit, it's a wonderful place to go. It's part of your admission if you go to the museum. It's open all the time, and all you need is really a close-up lens. There's no flash that I used for these two. These were all just done right there in the hall where all these butterflies are, and you walk among them, and there's lots of them and lots of kinds of them. I only put a couple of them in here, but again, if you haven't ever been there, you're just looking for something on a day that's either too hot, you don't want to go out, or it's too cold. This is a really fun place to go. And if you're there, of course, they just had, I think it's gone now, but they had the museum, the exhibit for dinosaurs. And this next one's a little spookier, but this was that they do believe, of course, that dinosaurs were the first beings or critters that had feathers, and they eventually became our birds today. This was one that they have there at the museum as well. I did some tabletop stuff just because we had that wacko contest for tabletop. I don't really do a lot of that. I thought, well, that would be kind of a fun thing to see if I can do it. So here's one. With my second attempt. It was the third attempt. This one I just found interesting because I was trying to tie together a bunch of generations that it just so happened that I went yearbook. It's from 1942. And as I was doing this, I thought to myself, boy, this really does span ways, because you might think 1942 isn't all that long ago, but for remember that the people whose pictures were in there as seniors were probably 17, 18 years old already. So most of those people probably aren't even around anymore. This really brought together for me a lot of generational things really quickly. I just thought it was kind of an interesting idea. I do flowers periodically, and I go out again over to the botanical gardens over at Whitnell Park. And again, I've been trying something that's just very different. I've been using that 200 to 600 millimeter lens to try to get some different things. And this is that lens. And again, you might think those are just for birding. Well, they can be. But when you use them, you can get some absolutely phenomenal photos by using lenses that you might think were for different purposes. So anyway, that's kind of most of the stuff I've been doing just recently, and an idea of what I've been up to.
Very nice. Wow. Super job.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just kind of fun to try things I don't normally do, and I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone of those things that I'm used to doing and trying to do completely different things. So, and I know it's always hard when somebody says, well, is a good example. They mentioned the rodeo today, and I know that myself and another member of this club, we've been kicking around, should we go out there? And I've never done a rodeo, but that's the kind of thing I think might be a really great, fun thing to try.
Super. Well, thank you very much. The president's challenge for the year or this month was new and old growth. Let me start that up, and shortly thereafter, we'll do the program presented by Jane. Let me go over here. I'll just roll through these. There are quite a few. I think I'm on the wrong page here. Let me go over. Well, there we go. I think there's about 5 or 6 of us that have brought pictures in. I didn't know I was going to be the first one, but here they are. That's it. Thank you. All right. Jane?
Jeff, do I need to do anything special to get the music? Oop, I can't hear you.
Do I need to do anything?
No, when you hit share screen on the, there's two buttons on the bottom left, one that says sound and the other optimized for video. Click, make sure both of those are checked before you hit the final share button.
Okay. And
Very nice. It was really interesting, the idea of different community that people came up with.
I think
We
it'd be a
have a
great
community,
topic for
that's
another
for
year.
Nice job putting it together, Jane.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job, Jane.
Super. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have on the agenda for this evening. We can open it up for discussion on any interesting topics if we want to hang around and do so. Anybody have any questions about the club or what we can possibly come up with next year?
Does anybody have
That
any
was what I
questions
was
about?
going to ask.
What was it,
Does
Jeff?
anybody-
It's,
Any suggestions for speakers for next year?
I don't know about speakers, but how about topics?
That too. Makes our August meeting a little easier if we got a better idea what we'd like to do.
Yeah,
I have a
May I
request.
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry.
Oh,
Go
may I suggest maybe photographs of some of the oldest things we can find around here?
You talking about around Milwaukee or around Wisconsin?
As far as you can drive.
Won't
might be
very
to the
far
end
with
of the
these gas
driveway.
prices.
oldest.
Linnea had a suggestion. Linnea?
Yeah, it triggered when Jim was doing his presentation. He was talking about lighting with an umbrella and a speed light, which is something I really want to learn, but I know nothing about. I own the equipment, and I don't know if they're like different topics like that, if that would be of interest to anybody else.
I have been waiting for a topic like that because I really don't know how to use the flash on the camera or the speed light that I have. So I'm interested.
So would I be.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, I
Okay.
think that's one topic we'll put on the list.
One down, now a few more to go.
11 more to go.
Yeah.
I've got a thought on one. And that's how do you prepare pictures properly to get printed? You know, either on your home printer or if you're going to send them off to a lab. If you want to try to get accurate color, or get the color you see on your monitor, what's the process? What's the best process for that?
Okay.
Ooh, that's a deep one because it depends upon the substrate that you print on. Newspaper is so different than canvas and so on too. But if you're talking mostly home printers, then Steve?
Well, maybe, but or if you're gonna, let's say I want to use Allied Digital to print my stuff. Is there a good technique so that do they provide like the ICC profiles, and how, if they did, how would I use them? Just to get accurate colors in the photos I would like to print. I don't know. It's something that probably needs a little bit more thought, but what's the best way to get from what you see on your screen to something to hang on your wall that looks the same?
Well, it's kind of
I
hard
don't
because
remember the last time. I was just gonna say, I don't remember the last time we did the camera calibration or monitor calibration.
Yeah, we did that a couple years ago, but it never
been a
hurts to.
while.
Yeah, it never hurts to do it again.
Agreed.
yeah, it's nice to review because a lot of people, like including myself, I don't calibrate my my monitor. So you're not going to get the true color, what you're going to see, what's on your screen compared to what you print.
Technology's changed and members have changed.
Correct, but
True.
when I would do things for printing it at other places, a lot of it was more, their suggestion was more of a pleasing color than deciding exactly that you wanted it to look on the screen, because you're dealing with 72 DPI on your screen and like 200 on your substrate or your paper or whatever you're working on. So you can come close, but how precise do you want to be? So that's something that you could probably explore also.
Could you get somebody from, say, Bay Photo or a place like that to come on and talk to us?
We might be able to get somebody from Red River Paper Company to do a talk. There's a guy, the owner, the one guy contact that I have, sometimes will do talks with camera clubs, so we can check into that.
Okay.
But it's definitely a good idea to review some of the things we don't, we haven't done for a while. I mean, a flash photography would be kind of cool, because I'm not that great at it. So.
I agree. I'd enjoy a flash photography one too. It's something I've used very occasionally, and if I have to go back and study a book to use it again.
It definitely is easier when someone can answer questions and talk to you about it, because reading can get a little tedious once in a while.
I will just mention also that some of the new techniques are very simple to do. And I think with most modern cameras can do some amazing flash photography that doesn't look like flash photography anymore. So yeah, I think that's a great topic.
Well, I have a topic that my daughter is constantly bragging about the quality of her pictures that she takes with an iPhone as compared to what I use. We'll be at the same event and I'm working the camera, doing this, doing that. And she's snapping her little iPhone all over the place. And her pictures turn out amazing in all kinds of lighting situations. So, most of us have phones and some of them can do some pretty amazing things as well. And that might be a topic that might be of interest. I'm not sure.
We did that about, right, Ann? You had a friend who came and did that. Was that 3 years ago or more already?
We
would have been more
did
than
that
that.
already, yeah.
Something like I just remember a blizzard one night and she had to reschedule.
She had to reschedule. Yeah, that stands out. But now the cameras on the iPhones are changed too. So
yeah, they get better every year.
Oh, maybe no. It's got to be more than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Check
Jeff,
the
maybe we
newsletter.
could get Jerry Hug on that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Jerry Hug has a presentation that he could do on iPhone photography. It's phone photography, not just iPhone.
Right. Okay.
But can we have a presentation for those of us without good phones to make our DSLR pictures better than the phone's photography? I always get jealous when I see somebody's phone shot. I'm like, okay.
There is
Yeah,
something.
they could just put the computation into the cameras that they have in the phones. We'd have some really amazing photos.
The phones have basically gotten really good at doing the Lightroom and Photoshop editing for you. That's where the phones still, their sensors are still tiny, and our cameras are way better sensors than theirs because they're just physically larger, but they have, practically a desktop computer sitting in their iPhones and Androids are getting so powerful.
I printed a picture that she took with her iPhone downtown at the art museum, exterior of the buildings behind it. I got an 18 by 24 print that was absolutely amazing with this little iPhone. And it's just, I don't know how they do it, to be quite blunt about it.
Well, can I just say that one of the things I believe has happened in these iPhones now, or any of the phones, they're using this stuff called computational photography,
Yeah.
So some of it is where they're literally taking several photos and then blending them, but they do it in such a way that they're tack sharp. They're wonderful. I do know that one camera manufacturer started that. That was Olympia. Their latest one, you can hand hold 1 second shots and get tack sharp photos. That's basically unheard of. So I think our cameras will get there, but right now our cameras are behind in those kinds of photos than what you would get, let's say, on an iPhone or any other kind of cell phone. But it's coming.
Well, it's an interesting topic. I'd be curious to know a little bit more about how they do it and what we can do to maximize the pictures that we do take with the iPhones.
Yeah.
And by the way, some of the videos on the iPhones are pretty amazing as well.
Yeah. 4K and 8K video on an iPhone these days, and it's better than some of our DSLRs. Would anybody be interested in infrared photography?
I would indeed. I've got a Node, one of the earlier Canons that I had converted to IR, and I don't use it enough, but it's kind of fun when I do.
Again, I think Carol Bailey did something like that eons ago.
Yeah, some
also.
years ago, right?
Yeah. But, if I can't remember how long ago it was, then maybe I can't remember exactly what was discussed either. So, and hopefully might be more interested in it this time around.
I think it was about 4 years ago she did that program. Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Kind of like the iPhone thing. It was back then, back yonder.
Pre-COVID.
Would there be any interest in drone photography, finding someone who is a expert in drone photography, basics of drone flight, stuff like that? Would there be any interest? I've noticed that our buddy Dan Anderson up in Door County is pretty much off the ground all the time these days and turning out some amazing shots with his drone.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely some amazing, beautiful shots that you can actually take pictures of. It's incredible.
It's a different perspective too. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the only way to get those pictures is, up high or, down in a canyon or something like that. It's like you'd kill yourself trying to get those pictures.
Yep.
If
Any
there's some
else?
interest,
Go ahead.
if there's some interest, I could do a night out at the observatory and look through some telescopes and show how photos are taken through telescopes.
Whoa.
I'd be up for that.
Yep,
Yeah,
that'd be
I
a
like
great
Yeah,
field trip.
Menomonee.
Yeah.
Okay.
And where would that be?
That'd be down at the Modine Benstead Observatory. It's just outside of Union Grove.
Okay.
So, Racine County, we're just west of the intersection of I-94 and Highway 20. So.
Jeff, I have a question for you. I think it's probably 10, maybe 15 years ago. Didn't we take a field trip to Kohl's where they did the shooting for the magazines or the advertisement?
I don't know if it was, I think it was Quad Graphics that we went to.
Yeah.
Okay, Quad Graphic.
Yeah. I don't know any people over there now. All the guys that I know have retired.
Me too.
So it would be a little harder to do. And I don't believe Kohl's is doing their photography around here anymore.
Yeah, because they used to have that one right off of Brown Deer Road.
Yeah.
And now they're in for being sold maybe. So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even the journal isn't printed in Milwaukee anymore, so
Yeah.
who knows, with all this digital stuff, it's printed down in Chicago now, I think.
Somewhere in Illinois.
Korea.
Here in Illinois,
Yeah.
yeah, just recently moved.
One
But it's
time we had a real good tour of Mike Crivello's studio, and they make commercials and radio commercials and things like that there too. I don't know if they'd allow us in again for that. Were you there, Jeff?
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah. I'm not sure what they're doing anymore, but I don't know. Is anybody going down there these days? I haven't kept up my connections to Crivello's.
I have. It's been about maybe the beginning of the year I went and that. So, and I do plan on going again so I can talk to the general manager. Jeff, I think is his name.
Yeah, talk to, if you're going to be there, talk to Jeff Dobbs.
Yep, that's the person.
I don't get down there anymore.
Even if we couldn't make an outing there, whether somebody could
could talk,
But
yeah.
talk about what they do and how they work with various clients and stuff, and get contracts and what facilities they have.
Oh, that's kind of similar to maybe Allied Digital in Germantown too.
But
Yeah.
Crivello's has got a big studio in their basement.
Correct.
Yeah. I recently had some large prints made at Allied in Germantown. Unbelievably well done, very helpful. It's a really nice place too. If you're looking for something local to have some fairly large prints made.
I know I'd like to practice or try the canvas paintings, the metal paintings, the epoxy paintings or something like that, or acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Maybe that could tie in with the topic I suggested, not just setting up files to be printed, but what are all the options of printing? And, what do they look like? What's the benefit of one over the other? Might be a kind of an extension of my printing topic I suggested.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's true.
I've got to talk to Andy. I can talk to Andy once at Allied and see if he could do anything promoting or talking about all the different things that, because they do quite a bit of different type of printing. I know we got a suggestion here of Tim Gray. Unfortunately, we can't afford him. I would love to bring him in, but he's not going to qualify. Did everybody like, what was his name? Lewis?
Kemper.
Yeah.
I liked him. I liked him a lot.
He has
Lewis
a
Katz?
From
Yeah,
Baltimore.
Lewis Katz, I think
Yeah.
it was. I've been in contact with him. He's got a couple more programs. We could probably get him in. His fee's gone up a little bit, although I've talked him back down to $100 for his fee from $125. So.
Well, it's kind of nice
might-
because Zoom, you can kind of make it more reasonable. So, time with driving wise and fuel and that, it's nice with the Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sort of surprised he's still talking to me. I gave him all sorts of suggestions on how to up his Zoom look. He said he needed to get a better chair and get better lighting and all that. So.
know, you can see with my lighting.
Yeah, Clint, you do need a light in front of you.
Well, then I have to wear my sunglasses.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like what I have. I've got a bright light in front of me, but it lights me up nice.
I've got two big glowing ones up here.
Yeah.
So if you see me at midnight with my sunglasses, then you know I got the lights on me.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
you
it
know,
helps.
I
You can
suppose
buy
I
these
could always.
little, you can buy these little lights to clip on top of your screen. They do an excellent job, you know, of lighting up your face as you're looking at the monitor. And they're not expensive, probably $20-$30 at the max.
No, I know. The one I've got it's a 9x12 panel light, nice and flat. That, well, it's $80, but I got a little remote control to adjust it, and it lights me up nice and even.
I've got the Elgato key light, I think it's called. Like
oh, okay.
And I can control them with my phone, make it warmer, something cooler, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this little clip-on desk lamp that I can use, which I'm using right now. It's got 3 different settings. Right now, it's on the low setting, so it does work.
Yep. Yeah,
Apple
it is.
just announced this week that with their fall software, when they release it, you'll be able to use their iPhones as webcams.
Yep.
Easily.
That'll be
easily
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I use Alexa to change my lights and stuff, but my lights in back of me. Alexa,
Tony, you just need to get like a
100%
big
light.
You need to get a big poster board and put it in front of you to bounce the light back at you.
Yeah.
Matt Thomas, I see you're still with us. As a new member, what are some of the things that you would like to see us do?
I mean, I guess just for someone who's sort of picking these things back up, you guys I've been watching some of the pictures come by with some of the zoom lenses. That's something I've never really had much experience with. I got a kit lens, but it's not a great lens. But learning how to, work with that and take those sort of pictures that you guys are taking with the, the animals and the birds and the stuff like that.
Okay.
I should almost do a presentation on my aviation photography, doing the air shows and that with my 200 to 600 lens and that, and then also the interior, for the cockpits of the airplanes and that. So I should almost do a presentation, for our chapter or our club meeting.
Yeah, that would be a good one, Clint.
Yeah, I'll vote for that one. I'm going down to a fly-in they've got in Illinois where they have a reunion of the steermen. It's like 150 steermen come in.
Okay, no, that'd be kind of cool because what's kind of nice is how I got involved with, with a publisher and stuff like that. I can kind of go a step-by-step process how I was at the right time at the right place.
Sure. Would we be interested in a speaker for fine art photography?
I definitely.
Yeah, I'd be
would.
up for that.
Yeah, I've got a Mark, hard last name, Batista. He's a recognized painter and fine art photographer. Has some pretty good fine art photos, and he's starting to put on presentations now. He was a little more expensive. I believe he was around $200, but I was going to see if I can either talk him down or maybe we can get another club to come in with us and pay part of his fee.
What is his name? What is his
Mark,
name, Jeff?
Battista. And that's what his website is.
Batista. Okay.
Yeah, Batista.
Batista. Huh.
Should we do one maybe with trying to sell some of our photos, like online or whatever? Should we do one class on that? Because there's a lot of talented people that could sell their artwork.
We could probably
Well-
talk about that again. We did that a few years ago, but again, that was
For
before
that,
COVID.
because, yeah, I remember that because I put together various websites that would sell but again, I don't know how.
That had to be
How long-
5, 6, 7 years.
I just found the paper on it because I'm putting together different resources and so on. So it just happened to stumble across it and went, oh yeah, I remember that vaguely. I remember standing in front of the room. So
Because I
I'm
just
still-
One of the best companies right now for selling is Fine Art America. If you check that website, I think you'll be surprised at what you can do with your pictures if you are in that mode to sell things.
Is that considered stock photography too, where you can sell?
I don't know
I
about
think
that.
it's mostly consumer purchases, more than a commercial use. Mostly, I would say, people wanting to just hang them at their house. But you can sell digital copies as well for, commercial use too. I have not sold any digital copies, but I've sold quite a few just regular prints or canvases.
And that's a fairly easy program to use, isn't it, Jeff?
It is really easy. Yeah. I mean, with anything you're trying to sell, obviously, the more people you can get to see them, the better. So, it pays to, hashtag the heck out of it, so if people are doing any kind of search, yours is going to show up, but, if you got a unique product, Randy Schirkenbach sells a lot of pictures on Fine Art America. He specializes in building photography, and he sells a lot. He sells quite a bit of stuff.
How many years ago did we do that FBI building where we had our pictures hanged up, where it was dry mounted, matted, and framed?
Don't remember that one.
That was the wacko thing. And they used to have the big exhibit there.
Yeah, at the blue building down there.
Yeah, the federal building.
Yeah, the
Oh.
federal building. Yeah, federal building.
They changed ownership and we weren't able to go back to them anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember probably maybe 15 years ago, I remember when they had the great frame up store where we could kind of sell some of our, pictures at the store. I remember that.
How about the guy that PSA had that did the downtown Chicago, like night photography or very long exposure?
Is it Williamson?
I don't remember his name.
John Williamson or something?
Could be.
I think it was John Williams.
Williams, okay.
Well, I think we've got a lot of ideas here for our August planning meeting.
Which is a Zoom meeting, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But only for those.
Who are invited?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
on the
it's a
board.
yes.
Only the board people.
board,
There's no meeting, regular meeting for everybody.
the BOARD meeting, not the BORED. Okay.
It's also the BORED meeting.
Well, looks like I'll be showing up for that meeting.
Yes, you
Yes,
will,
Clint, you will have to show up for that meeting.
because you'll be on one of the agendas apparently. So we'll let you pick which time you want to talk.
Does anybody have any questions about the Chicago trip? I didn't really ask if anybody had any questions for it. I just figured I'd throw that out there.
What are they getting for the ticket, Ian?
Like, how much are they?
Yeah, the train ticket.
I think they're 25 each way, plus tax, that stuff, but 25 each way.
Probably cheaper than gas.
Not too bad. It's comfortable. When I went 2 weeks ago, the 6:15 train was very empty. Even the afternoon, the evening train wasn't too busy. Obviously, travel's down a bit now. School will be out, so it might be a little bit busier. Or school will be out, so it might be a little busier, but it was pretty light.
Speaking of gas prices, my wife and I were in Canada a week ago, talking about $4 or $6 a liter for gas.
That's
Yeah, I heard about that.
I just bought a car that takes premium, so that's really fun.
You did that on purpose?
Yeah, I think I paid $5.50 the other day, which, by the way, don't wait. Well, you probably won't see a gas station on our, because we'll be downtown, but our gas prices compared to Illinois gas prices are dramatically cheaper. I've just added $1 to everything, and that's what it's like buying gas in Illinois. So
I saw on Facebook a gasoline station sign: regular, arm, premium, leg, diesel, firstborn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I was out in California a month and a half ago, it was sky high out there. I think 9 something was the highest I saw.
I'm definitely looking forward to Woodman's opening up their gas station again. It's been under construction. They have some of the best prices. Costco is pretty good if you got membership, but it can also be like a half-hour wait to try to get your gas there. So
Yeah, Costco's 25 cents cheaper than everybody else, but yeah, you have to wait forever. You probably burn that up in gas waiting.
Woodman's usually is right with them, so that's why. But right now all their pumps are down, so they're completely tearing it up.
Probably
Right.
changing them over to 4-digit pricing, the pumps.
No, when we take the private jet to Mackinac Island for our dinner, it's going to be kind of pricey. It might be
thanks,
about
thanks for offering.
$10,000 to go out for dinner.
All right.
Oh, we got a
We're
good.
approaching 9 o'clock. Anybody have anything else they want to discuss this evening? If
Yes,
not,
make
we're pretty
sure
close.
you do the challenge. It's
I'm sorry?
and reflections. I will still publish them in the newsletter. Joe does not need them for the meeting because we're not going to be doing Zoom. But I will still publish some of the photos for the President's Challenge of Reflections in the newsletter. So I have a date and it's on the calendar. I can't remember. All right. You can find
And
it.
everybody send me the zoo photos that you've got. And when you guys get back from Chicago, send me your Chicago photos.
What about did you get the ones from the flower?
No, I could use ones from the flower also.
Yeah. So
I'll send you a bunch of those, Jeff.
Jeff, is there still talk about redoing the Menomonee Falls website? Or is that wacko?
Well, we're looking at redoing all the sites sooner or
Okay.
later. But that's not an easy project, so.
Okay.
I'm tired of the white background. I want to change it to black, but it means doing a lot of converting. So it will maybe a while before I get it done.
Do we have anybody within the club that could assist and help Jeff with that?
I know I'm
it's
trying
hard.
to build my website too, and that I do believe there is a code you can put in there to change the background.
Yeah, but once you change the background, then you also have to change the type. And it's like 30 different types that you have to change from black type to white type. So it's not quite as simple as it would sound, but
It's not the night mode, day mode check.
right. Yeah. It's not just a click of one button. It's the click and adjustment of a lot of buttons. So, but we're going to be working on that. So yeah, there may be a newer website by the time we get going in fall.
Okay.
But we will be talking about a bunch of that stuff at the planning meeting.
All right. Well, I think we're pretty well wrapped up. I just want to say I've had fun this year being the president, and I wish Roger the best going forward.
Thank you.
We do hope to see you on July the 12th at the park. I'd love to meet all of you individually, and hope to see you. If nothing else, that's it. We'll sign off. All right.
Welcome,
very much.
Matt.
Thanks,
Good night,
Joe.
everyone.
Good night. Thank
Nice
you.
meeting everyone.
Good night.
See everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.